It felt like for years, for over a decade, you could almost set your watch to it. Drake and DJ Khaled, you knew if they were get together on a track, chances are you were getting a hit.
It's almost a guarantee at that point.
He was pretty much guaranteed, yeah. But things seem to have changed recently, and we're diving deep today into what looks like the end of a really long musical partnership. What happened? We're going to go back to their early days in Miami, try to trace their journey all the way to this pretty public shift, and try and figure out, maybe some of the reasons behind this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the narrative, it's pretty remarkable. These guys collaborated for years, produced a whole catalog of hugely successful music. What's really striking, though, is how solid, how strong their connection seemed for so long.
It really did, and it all goes back to, around 2009 in Miami. It's kind of hard to believe now, but apparently, Drake was the one who actually initially reached out to Khaled. MySpace, of all places.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, on MySpace. And Khaled has even admitted that he was just, he wasn't really on MySpace. He missed the message, just wasn't paying attention to it. And then, thinking back to the late 2000s and early 2010s, Miami was it was an incredible hub for hip hop, just buzzing with energy. And both of these guys were right in the middle of it all, working with, pretty much every major name you can think of. Kanye, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, French Montana, even artists from completely different genres.
A real melting pot of talent.
Yeah, you had T-Pain, Akon, Neo, everybody was kind of in the mix.
It was a real golden era for that Miami scene.
It really was, and I think it was just so foundational for both of their careers. They both kind of rose within that environment, and their early collaborations, they really solidified their place in the industry.
It was a launch pad.
A huge launch pad. Yeah, and those collaborations, bangers. Hit after hit. We're talking Fed Up, I'm On One, No New Friends for The Max, Popstar, Grease, even Staying Alive more recently.
Right.
And it wasn't just, a business thing. They seemed like they were genuinely good friends.
They did, yeah. That definitely came across.
Drake even gifted Khaled like an OVO chain.
Right,
which
is a big deal, right?
Huge deal. That's like in that world, it's like a symbol of respect and brotherhood.
It really shows you, the level of personal investment they had in that relationship. It wasn't just transactional. There was a genuine connection there.
And then things changed. September 2023 rolls around, and DJ Khaled announces, and Drake seemingly confirms that there are going to be not one, but two Drake features on Khaled's upcoming album.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Huge news, right? And Drake even brings Khaled out on stage at a concert in Miami to basically reiterate this in front of everybody.
In front of the world.
So, you've got that public confirmation, fans are excited, the industry's buzzing, everybody's waiting for these tracks.
Yeah, once that kind of announcement is made, it sets the stage and just raises the stakes,
Yeah.
for the whole project.
It does, yeah. And then Khaled, he goes all in on promoting this album throughout the end of 2024 and beginning of 2025. And the main attraction, these two Drake features.
Yeah, you couldn't escape it. It was everywhere.
Everywhere. He even releases this crazy 7-minute cinematic trailer in February 2025.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And the whole premise is about these files with the Drake songs. There's this scene with robbers trying to steal this briefcase, and Khaled's yelling, "These are the ones with the Drake songs. These are the ones." A big production showing you just how important those features were considered to be for this album.
Yeah, he was really banking on those tracks. The sheer scale of that promotion, it really shows you how much he valued those collaborations.
Absolutely. And then, seemingly out of the blue, it all just falls apart. Drake posts a comment on Khaled's Instagram, basically saying he's not going to be on the album.
Just like that.
Publicly.
Just like that. And, this is a pretty direct, pretty unambiguous statement after all the public confirmations. So something big must have happened.
Right. It definitely points to some kind of serious issue behind the scenes. Yeah.
And then what happens next? Khaled, pretty much immediately deletes all the promotional material, the trailer, everything. Gone.
Wow.
It's like it never even existed. So the question becomes, what caused this massive change? What went wrong? And looking at what people have been saying online, there are a few potential reasons that keep coming up. One of the main ones is this idea that maybe Drake just got annoyed. Maybe he felt like Khaled was I don't know, a little too reliant on him for features.
That's an interesting point, right? I mean, it raises the question of the power dynamic in their relationship. Was it always an equal partnership? Or did it become a situation where, one artist was always being leaned on? Well, DJ Academics, he's made some pretty strong claims about this. He suggested that Drake actually didn't even want to release his last 4 or 5 records with Khaled. But, somehow he was convinced. And the story around their 2017 hit to the max, it's actually pretty revealing. Reportedly, Khaled was so desperate to get that song out that he agreed to give Drake 95% of the publishing rights.
95%.
95%. I mean, that tells you something right there. It tells you how much he wanted that Drake feature. I mean, what do you make of that kind of arrangement?
I mean, that kind of split, it's almost unheard of. And it really does point to, maybe an imbalance, a power imbalance in those negotiations.
Yeah.
Drake clearly held a lot of the cards, and you have to wonder if that kind of dynamic, if it could lead to some resentment over time.
But even with that, Drake still worked with Khaled for years, and he publicly supported him right up until this recent falling out. So what else could have played a role? Another theory that's out there focuses on Khaled's response, or maybe lack of response, during what people call Drake's rap civil war back in 2024. This was a period where, Drake was getting a lot of heat. He was clashing with, a lot of big artists. And through it all, DJ Khaled he was pretty quiet.
Yeah, that silence can speak volumes, especially in such a tight-knit community.
It can, right. I mean, in these circles, staying silent when there's conflict, it can be seen in a lot of different ways. Some might see it as staying neutral, but some might see it as not having your back when you're facing pressure.
Absolutely. It makes you think about, what kind of unspoken expectations maybe existed in their relationship when it came to, public support.
And Drake even hinted at this himself. He made a comment suggesting that, Khaled would be punished, so to speak, for staying on the sidelines. So maybe he felt let down. Maybe he felt like someone he had consistently championed wasn't there for him when he needed it most.
Yeah, that comment from Drake, it's pretty direct. And it does point to maybe some disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe there was an expectation of reciprocity that wasn't met.
Then we have to factor in Khaled's ongoing relationships with some of Drake's rivals. This adds a whole other layer of complexity to the situation. One of the big ones is Jay-Z and Roc Nation. DJ Khaled, signed to Jay-Z's company, he's managed by him, they're close, often refers to Jay-Z as his brother.
Right.
But at the same time, there's always been this kind of undercurrent of competition between Drake and Jay-Z. Never openly hostile, but definitely, some tension there over the years.
It's that age-old, top-of-the-mountain kind of rivalry.
Exactly. And this might have been amplified by, there are these rumors about Drake's mentor, Lil Wayne, being snubbed at the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, which Jay-Z was an executive producer for. And, Drake's rival, Kendrick Lamar, was featured prominently instead. So how much do you think these kinds of, indirect connections can impact a relationship like Drake and Khaled's?
I mean, it definitely adds fuel to the fire, right? It makes things messy. If Drake feels like someone Khaled's closely aligned with has disrespected him or someone he cares about, that could definitely create friction, even if Khaled himself hasn't done anything directly.
Yeah. And then there's Rick Ross. He's been a close friend and collaborator with both of them for a long time.
Right.
But in 2024, Rick Ross, he publicly turned on Drake, aligned himself with Drake's rivals, released diss tracks, the whole thing. And again, through all of this, Khaled, he stayed silent.
It's interesting, isn't it, how silence can be interpreted in so many ways, depending on the context.
It really is. And even though, Khaled was probably trying to stay neutral, Drake might have seen that silence as him siding with Ross.
Yeah, it's like, you're either with us or against us.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And then to add to it, French Montana, another mutual friend, another collaborator, he might have had his own issues with Drake too. Rick Ross even claimed that Drake sent a cease and desist letter over a song he did with French Montana. And when French Montana was asked directly about his relationship with Drake, this is in the summer of 2024, he just said, no comment.
Oh, wow.
This is after Drake helped executive produce French's documentary, so.
A no comment. In that kind of situation, it often speaks louder than, an outright denial.
It does. It makes you think there's probably some tension there that he just doesn't want to address publicly.
Exactly.
And then to top it all off, shortly after news of the falling out broke, a casket, a literal casket marked with R.I.P. Drake and OVO, is left outside DJ Khaled's house. They're still investigating where it came from, but it just shows you how crazy, how intense this whole thing has become.
It's a disturbing image, that's for sure. I mean, regardless of who's behind it, it really highlights the extreme emotions involved in these types of feuds.
It does. So, trying to put all of this together, the end of this musical partnership between Drake and DJ Khaled, it does feel like a big deal, especially after such a long, successful run. We can only speculate about the exact reasons, but it seems like a few things likely played a part here. Maybe Drake felt like he was constantly being asked for features, and that created some frustration. Maybe he was disappointed with Khaled's lack of support during a difficult time. And then there are these close ties Khaled has maintained with people who are essentially Drake's rivals. It really makes you think about how loyalty in business, they can get really complicated in this world, especially when everyone's personal and professional lives are so intertwined and constantly under a microscope.
It's a good reminder that these collaborations, they go beyond just the music. They're built on trust, they're built on support, and they're built on navigating a very complex web of relationships. And when those things get strained, even the strongest partnerships can break down. It really leaves you wondering how long these kinds of relationships can truly last in an industry where everything is so public and the stakes are always so high.
It does. It makes you think about, what are the breaking points and how much can these bonds withstand under that kind of pressure?
That's the million-dollar question.
That's a good place to leave it for today. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's a pleasure.
Until next time, folks.
See you next time.
Keep those ears open.